Alright guys, so here we have a 2017 Toyota Camry. I'm going to go ahead and be doing the brake pads and rotors on the front because they're worn out. Get down. I'll take the tires off already, so let's get started on this. Okay, so I'm doing a voiceover because I find it easier to explain what's going on. So here I'm opening the brake rotors, and that way I have them laying ready to install. And also, so I can verify that they are the right size, lug pattern, and all that, because sometimes you order stuff and it's not the right stuff. So verifying you have the right parts before starting or like pulling everything off, it's worth it. That way you know you got everything. So there's the first one, second one. Grab an extra screwdriver. And what I'm doing now is compressing the brake brake caliper piston. I'm compressing it there. Now I'm making sure I get the pad that's on the inside and push it all up against the caliper piston. Like, make sure it gets fully flush. Yeah, there's a tool you can use to do it outside, but this is the easiest way to get it done. So just like that, you've compressed both brake calipers on the front. Now for this 2017 Camry, the nut that goes on there, or I mean, it's a bolt, and it's a 14 millimeter. So I'll break them free using the long wrenches. I mean, you could have done it with an impact, but I felt that the long wrench was good enough. I'm having trouble on this side. The top one is also rotating while I'm trying to remove it. Alright, so I'm using some pliers, and I broke it free. Now I'm grabbing my ratchet with the 14 millimeter, and I'm gonna take off the calipers real quick. I'm setting the bolts on the lift. You always gotta make sure where you put your bolts. Just put them somewhere you remember. So now that the caliper bolts are off, we're gonna slide the caliper off and just set it on top so it's not hanging completely. There's little springs on the top of these pads. I'll set the springs right beside the bolts. That way you can't put the bolts on without missing those springs. You're gonna see those springs and be like, okay, I need to install those springs also. The same thing on this side. Take off the springs, set them by the bolts. That way I don't forget them. And then the brake pads come off pretty easily. And they're not completely worn out. The disc is just warped and it's shaking the steering wheel. And now for the rear nut, it's a 17. grab a 17 wobble, the impact gun, and you'll get the caliper bracket off in no time. This was a bad angle because as soon as I hit it, all the brake dust and everything hit my face. So I had to get out of the way, do it from the top where the brake dust wouldn't hit me. And it's very hard getting the view in there with the GoPro on my head. It's not fun. One side out to the next one. So I try very hard not to be in the area with my face in there and all, because all that brake stuff isn't really good for you, so you don't want to breathe none of that in. So while I'm doing all this braking stuff free, I hold my breath, I don't breathe in. That's like cancer shit. Here I'm checking the caliper bracket slide pins. This is where the caliper slides on, making sure it's free. So when you pay for a brake pad change, a complete hour, you know, we do put grease in there, make sure they're free, put all the new hardware on the brakes. If you pay for a pad slap, which is half an hour, we're not we don't put grease in the pins, we don't put the new hardware, we just slap the pads on there because it's honestly it's not a good, all you're doing is a pad slap. But if you're paying for the whole thing, new rotors and everything, yeah, we're gonna make sure it's good. A pad slap gets you by. New rotors, you gotta just do everything right. So there, I greased up my two brackets, slide pins. Now, opening the brake hardware kit. But I also gotta, I gotta get called out to do something here. Get called out to go drive a BMW, or steer it at least. And I'm gonna cut this out. Alright, so here I continue unboxing the brake pads and all the hardware and all the trash they bring with it. This is a little hardware it comes with. Open it up, throw it on my toolbox. The toolbox is such a mess. I hate having it like that, but when you're busy, you don't have time to clean it. So putting the clips on, like, you take one off and then you check it until you got the right one. You throw that one on there. You take off another one and you verify it's the right one. You just keep doing it like that, one at a time. You could take them all off and then throw them all on there, but you'd have to know exactly how they line up. And that's one of the rookie mistakes, I guess, that you could make. You just pull everything off and have no picture or video to know where it goes. So you're best off doing it one at a time. So here I'm slapping on the new rotor. Get the bracket. Grab the bracket bolts or 17s. Line it up. Start the lower one. Start the top one. You always want to start everything by hand. Now that they're started, you grab a Frankenstein. That's what I call the impact gun because it's broken and I fixed it and it has wires sticking out of it. So its new name is Frankenstein. Make sure they're tight. Now we need to grab the brake pads, but we gotta install some wear sensors. These are the OG wear sensors that actually make noise, like the little high pitched squeal you hear whenever the brakes are bad. This little piece right here is what makes that high pitched squeal. So they're kind of a little pain to install them with gloves on because you don't really feel the metal that well. So I'm struggling here, doing the best I can. Shit. I think I'm taking too long. Even while I'm doing that, I'm like, this is taking too long. This is taking too long. Like that should have been done in like, I don't know, 10 seconds, and it took like 30. Whatevs. And this two right here, installing the brake pads. The front one is easy. The other one, you got to get a really good view of it to get that sensor in right. And I was not having. It just wasn't fitting. I was fighting that side quite a bit. You see me pull out a screwdriver and try to bang it in place, but it wasn't catching on that bottom side. It wasn't sliding in all the way. So there I am trying to smack it in place. Finally, I give up. And I'm like, okay, take it back out. Do the bottom side first, or both of them at the same time, and you can't see, but I'm really working it now. But when it falls in smooth. You can just see it, and you're just like, okay, it's on there. Slide the caliper back on there. Caliper bolts. See, when you went to grab for the bolts, I noticed the springs, so I gotta put those springs back in there. The new hardware kit didn't come with new springs, so I didn't install new springs, but I installed the old ones. And what that spring does, it just pushes the brake pads apart from each other after you release the brake pedal, so they don't wear out fast. And you see the sensors? I put them up on top of it. Like you want the wear sensors to be like in the forward position where the pad makes its first contact, because that's where it'll wear out the most, and that's when you know you need brakes. So now that I finished one side, I'm putting those wear sensors that took forever that other time, getting them ready for the next side. I started with those because those were kind of a pain. And I'm like, now that I know how to do it, I'm gonna do these first. So I grab that, grab all the hardware, and let's go to the other side. So I grab the bracket, set it on a solid surface, I know I've already greased the sliding pins, so I take one out and then I look for the matching one and slide it back in there. And then I take another of that brake hardware out, look for the matching one, set it back in there. And it's easier because you have less of them now. Take one out, put it back in there. And then the other one, you already know it goes there, so you take it out, put it back in there. It gets faster and faster. And I'm ready to slide it on, but I don't have a rotor yet. So since I had a little bit of a trouble putting the other pads in while the rotor was in there, this is another method of doing it. You can put the brake pads in on the caliper bracket, but it's still not it's not easy. You just get to see it a little bit easier, a lot more light. So there is me struggling trying to put these brake pads in the caliper bracket. I get it done though. Got that one in place. Now it's time to flip it over and notice that the other one went out of place. So we just slide the other one back into place. Call it good. Try to slap this rotor off, but it won't come off. Just beat it with a hammer. That's a little stuff they don't show you in the classrooms, that some stuff you gotta just beat out. Beat it. Like Michael Jackson. This rotor I do want to clean because it's had a bunch of oil. clear. And that's how it's done. Now we're gonna just check the brake fluid level, check the brakes, make sure it brakes, and call it done. Brake fluid level is full. So first thing we're gonna do, get in and turn it on, press the brake pedal, let it come up, press it again. Alright, make sure it holds in reverse. Dude, I don't know how these people sit like this. Back, take it for a test drive. There's some stupid container in the way. Have to get out and move it.
Go drive it?
Yeah.
Just make sure you try to see if you can get it up to. I always go down this way because it's a little more easier. Get it up to like 60, 65, and then make sure it doesn't shake no more. So that's what it was doing.
Yeah, I mean, I could tell the brakes were like, the brake pads weren't done for. But I was like, it's probably because of shaking or something.
Yeah, I mean, he's an Uber, so but yeah, just make sure it doesn't shake anymore.
Alright.
Appreciate you, brother.
Like that, the brake pads are done, and now I'm leaving. Look at this. Pull up to the stop sign. See the car just passed me by. I'm like, oh shit, up close. I think I stopped. And now it's time to test the brakes, make sure they work. You can't just do the brakes and give the cars to the customer without actually test driving the car, making sure it actually does brake and stuff. So yeah, if you watch this one, thanks for watching. And if there's anything, I could tell that the brake pads, like the life, it still had life on it, but when they are vibrating like this, it's pretty much time to replace them. Leave it in the comments. Nobody wants to feel shaking steering wheel.